A single sheet of plywood might not seem impressive at first glance. It's lightweight, sturdy, and found in everything from furniture to buildings. But what if I told you that this humble sheet is the result of a fascinating transformation, a process that turns rough, solid logs into one of the most versatile materials in the world? Think about it. A tree that's been standing tall for decades is sliced, peeled, glued, and pressed, all to create thin yet incredibly strong layers of wood. It's not just cutting and sticking. It's a precise science that balances nature and engineering. How does a log become plywood? What machines and techniques make it possible? Let's break it down step by step. 1. The journey begins, selecting the right wood. Not every tree can become plywood. The process starts with picking the right kind of wood. Strong, flexible, and durable trees like pine, birch, and poplar are the top choices. These trees grow straight and tall, making them perfect for peeling into thin layers. But it's not just about cutting down any tree. Experts carefully select trees based on their age, size, and health. It also makes sure the logging process is sustainable, meaning for every tree cut, new ones are planted. Once selected, the trees are transported to the factory. Huge trucks carry massive logs, sometimes traveling miles from dense forests to industrial plants. What was once a standing tree is now ready for its incredible transformation into plywood. 2. Preparing the logs, debarking, and conditioning. Before a log can turn into plywood, it must first be stripped and softened. The first step. Removing the rough outer bark. This bark doesn't just fall off. It's ripped away by massive debarking machines with rotating blades. These machines work fast, spinning logs and scraping off the bark in seconds. Once debarked, the logs are still hard and stiff. If we tried to peel them now, they would crack and break. That's why they go through a special softening process. They're either soaked in hot water or steamed at high temperatures. This loosens the wood fibers, making the logs flexible and easier to slice into thin sheets. 3. Peeling perfection. The rotary lathe process. Now comes one of the most fascinating steps, turning a solid log into a long, thin sheet of wood. But instead of slicing it into planks, the entire log is peeled like an apple. The softened log is placed on a giant machine called a rotary lathe. This machine spins the log at high speed, while a sharp blade presses against it. As the log turns, a continuous sheet of wood peels off, rolling out like a massive ribbon. It's mesmerizing to watch. What was once a thick, solid log is now a smooth, flexible veneer. The thickness of the veneer can be adjusted depending on what type of plywood is being made. Once peeled, the sheet moves forward, ready for the next step. 4. Cutting and sorting. Veneer in the making. Once the log has been peeled into a long, thin sheet, it's time to cut and sort it. The veneer rolls out like a giant ribbon, but it can't stay that way. It needs to be trimmed into standard sizes. Huge cutters slice the veneer into large rectangular sheets. These sheets are then inspected and sorted. Not all veneer pieces are perfect. Some have knots, cracks, or holes. The best quality sheets are set aside for the outer layers of plywood, where appearance matters most. The lower grade pieces will be used inside the plywood, where strength is more important than looks. If a sheet has small defects, they don't go to waste. Special patching techniques fix minor flaws, ensuring every piece of veneer is usable. 5. Drying for strength, removing moisture. Freshly peeled veneer sheets are still full of moisture, which makes them weak and prone to warping. To turn them into strong plywood, they must be dried properly. The veneer sheets are sent through massive industrial dryers. These dryers use hot air and rollers to remove excess moisture. Some factories use large heated chambers, while others use conveyor belt dryers that move the veneer through a tunnel of warm air. Drying is a crucial step. If the veneer is too wet, the glue won't stick properly later. If it's too dry, the sheets might crack. That's why factories carefully control the temperature and drying time. Once dried to the perfect moisture level, the veneer is now stronger, more stable, and ready for the next step. 6. The glue that holds it all together. Now that the veneer sheets are dry, it's time for the secret ingredient that makes plywood so strong, glue. But this isn't just any glue. Factories use special industrial adhesives, often waterproof resins, to bond the layers together. The process is simple but precise. A machine spreads a thin, even layer of glue over each sheet of veneer. But here's the trick. Each layer is placed at a 90-degree angle to the one below it. This cross-grain pattern makes plywood incredibly strong, preventing it from bending or warping over time. Once the glue is applied, the stacked veneers don't stick together just yet. They need pressure and heat to bond completely. That's where the next step, pressing, comes in. 7. Pressing under extreme pressure and heat. Now comes the step that transforms loose veneer sheets into solid plywood, pressing. The glued veneers are stacked together and placed inside a massive industrial press. This press applies extreme heat and pressure, forcing the layers to bond tightly. The heat activates the glue, making it spread evenly and fuse the sheets together. The pressure ensures there are no air gaps or weak spots, creating a strong, durable panel. The entire process only takes a few minutes, but the result is impressive. What was once a pile of thin wooden sheets is now a solid, sturdy plywood board. After pressing, the plywood is left to cool and harden, making sure the glue sets completely before the finishing touches begin. 8. Trimming and finishing, the final touches. After pressing, the plywood is almost ready, but it still needs some finishing touches. The edges are rough, and the surface isn't perfectly smooth. That's where trimming and finishing come in. First, large cutting machines trim the edges to create clean, uniform sheets. Factories follow standard sizes, but plywood can also be cut into custom dimensions based on its final use. Next, the surface is sanded down to remove rough spots and create a smooth finish. Some plywood sheets are also treated with special coatings or waterproof layers, depending on where they'll be used. By the end of this step, the plywood is polished, precise, and ready for its next destination, whether that's a construction site, a furniture workshop, or a DIY project. 9. Quality control, testing for strength and durability. Before plywood can be sold, it must pass strict quality tests. Factories don't just assume it's strong. They test it to make sure it meets high standards. First, inspectors check for thickness, smoothness, and defects. If a sheet has cracks, gaps, or weak bonding, it's rejected. Then, the real challenge begins: strength and durability tests. Plywood samples go through bending, impact, and moisture resistance tests. Machines apply heavy pressure to see how much weight the plywood can handle. Some sheets are soaked in water to check if they warp or delaminate. Fire-resistant plywood is even tested under flames. Only the best quality plywood makes it through. Once approved, the sheets are stamped, packed, and ready for shipment, guaranteed to be strong, reliable, and built to last. 10. Ready for use, where plywood goes next. Now that the plywood has passed all the tests, it's ready to be used. But where does it go? Almost everywhere, from small DIY projects to massive construction sites. Plywood is a favorite in furniture making, used for cabinets, tables, and even luxury interiors. In home construction, it strengthens walls, roofs, and floors. It's also essential for boats, airplanes, and even movie sets. Different types of plywood serve different purposes. Waterproof plywood is used in kitchens and bathrooms. Heavy-duty plywood is used in building bridges and skyscrapers. Some plywood is even designed to resist fire and extreme weather. From the forests to the factories and finally into homes and buildings, plywood proves why it's one of the most versatile and valuable materials in the world. And that's how a simple log transforms into strong, versatile plywood. From peeling to pressing, every step plays a role in creating this essential material we use every day. If you found this process as fascinating as we did, hit the like button and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing behind-the-scenes looks at how everyday things are made. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.